Welcome to Accurate Basketball, a father-son podcast on all things NCAA D1 men's college basketball. I'm your host, Curtis D. Acker, here with my co-host and father, Mark Acker. Dad, thanks again for joining today.
Hi, Curtis. Happy Thursday today.
Yes, it is Thursday, February 22nd. Currently, as we are speaking, we're going to react today to a game that happened 2 nights ago. Creighton and UConn, the number one seed, fell. Another number one seed. This is the fourth number one seed to fall this time this year now in the 23-24 season. Only 4 number ones so far. Those number ones have been Kansas, Arizona, Purdue, and now UConn, who's fallen as well. They fell to Creighton. The Creighton Blue Jays ended up beating them, which is interseason rival. Creighton actually improved, Dad, to 4-0 all time against UConn when at home.
Right. Yeah, I saw that during the game, and boy, did they beat them too. Right? They really took it to them and set some precedent there for what might be coming, at least for the rest of this season. So.
Yes, and one thing too is just I want to talk about real quick just the mere advantage that playing at home is. I mean, we've seen Auburn only lose once at home. We've seen Purdue go down to Northwestern when they were away in overtime. It's just playing at home this year in college basketball is a huge advantage, much more so this year than I think it is in years past, because it always is an advantage. But this year it's just been a complete lopside.
Oh, absolutely. And I sent you that message during the game, how electric the crowd was in Omaha during the game. Every section, white, blue. They were beginning tip off to finishing the game with obviously the court rush at the end of it. They were fantastic. What a great 6-man, in the building there to help drive them forward. Yeah.
Yes.
Energy means a lot, obviously. And when you get it from somebody else other than off your team, it's easy to kind of flow with it. No doubt.
Yeah, so let's start with, we'll go over the UConn Huskies here. From what you saw, Dad, does UConn have a chance to continue being the number one seed here? Can they recover? Obviously, they're going to lose it in the new AP poll that gets released next Monday. But do you think that they have a chance to rebound and end up getting up to that top spot?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly. As even though, like you said, there's only been 4 this season. I mean, they got a 24-3 record. You're there. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts as to where do you think they're going to drop down to 2, maybe 3, come Monday.
I would say they're probably going to drop to. I don't think anyone other than maybe Arizona and Purdue should be teams that should.
Right.
I would say 3 probably is where they'll belong in the start here, but I think they might be able to, by the end of season time, finish as the number one seed, for which actually, Dad, would be the first time ever finishing as the top seed.
UConn, really? Even
yes.
as the number one ranked team at the end of the regular season?
At the end of the just going into the final AP poll.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Right before March Madness.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Right, that's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm motivated. And again, they're good. I mean, they're good. They play a good schedule. They're in a good conference. No reason why they say they wouldn't. If they win out, get back up to that spot, or at least merit being able to get up to the number one spot for that, for sure.
Yeah, for real. And now, one thing, let's go over here. Do you have UConn's remaining games pulled up on your computer there? Because I want to real quick talk about that. So they've got 4 games left here. They're gonna play.
Right.
As you got that schedule pulled up there.
I do.
Yes. So out of these games, Dad, which one do you think is going to be the toughest game to not take a loss in? Because you got Villanova, who's been back and forth all year. You got Seton Hall, who had a really good beginning to the Big East, and then they've since kind of been a little bit more back and forth. Then you got Marquette, who was obviously the number 7 ranked team. UConn just beat them by over 20 points recently. And then you got the Friars, who actually beat the Golden Eagles at home when the Golden Eagles came to play in Providence. So what game to you sticks out as the toughest game here for the Huskies?
Yeah, I go Shaka Smart and Marquette. They get hot and cold. Marquette does, right? But when they're hot, they can really take you. So I would look at that game as a matchup to challenge UConn the most of those 4. Myself, how about yourself? What do you see in the 4 that are up?
I think it's going to be Providence. To me, Providence is the team that is really underrated, and for me, I think that it's just a really, really tight-knit core with, like, I really like the way Josh Oduro plays. I think he's Bryce Hopkins, I think, plays really, really well too. I think that, and as you talked about the electricity in Omaha just recently, the electricity in Providence when Marquette came to play against them, it was very similar. Do you remember watching that game with me? That was when I was home in December time.
Right.
Yes. So, and I actually predicted before that game. I remember going off about how I predicted that Providence was going to end up winning. So, I think that's going to be the toughest game heading into the end here. But one thing that is big for UConn, let's talk a little bit about March Madness. Why should we bid on UConn in March Madness here?
You got it right. UConn's got, obviously one returning national champion or current national champion. So how do you knock number 1 off? That's tough. Because they've got that pedigree. And then you got that off their Hurley's got that off his plate there. And they're balanced. They're a balanced scoring team. They play really good defense. Number 1 in the Big East in rebound differential, a big stat in postseason. Number 8. Here's one that I don't like for them is they're number 8. Again, looking at just the Big East, they're number 8 in turnover differential. So how many times they turn it over versus the opponent turns it over. That's not a great stat for them, but turnovers I look at rebounds, shooting percentage, free throw percentage, and behind the arc percentage, some of the bigger stats. Not just turnovers on their own, but it's a stat that makes you go a little bit on them, concern on them. But no, I think overall they're going to be a tough out. I could see them, going to certainly I would say Final 4 in my opinion, based on their strength and balance of scoring 5 guys in double digits scoring.
You got Tristan Newton with 15.4, Cam Spencer with 14.8, Alex Caravan 14.3, and then you got Donovan Clingan, who might end up being a first-round pick in this year's upcoming NBA draft with 12.3, also attributing a lot to that rebounding. And then you got Stephon Castle with 10.7, who's probably a better NBA prospect than Clingan is at this point. And both of those guys might end up going in the first round. So not only are they well balanced, but you also got some guys that are playing for the next level. So there's an extra kick in the pants there.
Right. They also have 9 guys that play double-digit minutes a game average. Right. And Jalen Stewart averages 8.9 minutes per game. So they've got a lot of contribution, deeper bench. Obviously, like any team, if you lose your starters to foul trouble, that kind of thing, then that can come into play. But yeah, no, they're strong. They're strong across the board, no doubt about it. And that's why they're number 1 in the record that they have too. But I guess that's another thing. This team has been tested in terms of their schedule as well, right? It hasn't been just a cupcake schedule through. They've had some good challenges along the way, a good strength. So, yeah.
Right. Let's move on to the other side of things now. Let's move on to Creighton. Where do you see them this upcoming year?
So Creighton, as far as
this upcoming season, yes, their postseason.
Yeah, I like their makeup, honestly. Obviously, it's easy to say that on the heels of that victory on Tuesday night. But when I think of Creighton, I think of obviously their good scoring team. They here's a good stat for you. They are number one in the NCAA Division I men's basketball at the fewest fouls per game at 11.3. They foul the least. So again, you think about playoff in tournament time, things that make a difference. That's definitely a stat that does that. One stat I don't care for with them: 3.8 steals per game. That is third.
That's a low amount, yeah.
Yeah. So and I made my first note that I made as I was doing research on them is their defense good enough to play at a top level all the way through to carry them? How far can that carry them? They've had two losses where they gave up over 90 points, right? 91 to Providence, you mentioned already, 99 to Butler, and then they beat Seton Hall 97-94. So three games where they're giving up a ton of points. So can their do they have enough on defense to cover that against as you get in a tournament type of situation?
Right. Well, I think they almost have enough offensive firepower to overbalance that lack of the defensive end here. I'll pull it up. The Blue Jay Big Three. So get this, Dad. Baylor Shireman, Trey Alexander, Ryan Kalkbrenner. 18.4 points per game, 17.1 from the other two, and in that respective order. That is elite. And that is, I was doing some research here, and I found that they're the only Power 6 team currently projected to make March Madness that have 3 players that are averaging over 15 points per game. You want to take a guess as to who so there is one other team. There's one other team. They're not currently projected to make March Madness.
Oh.
And real quick, before pause the video, guess down below who do you think this team is, and then we'll release it in just about a few seconds. Dad, give me your guess now.
Oh boy. You got me on the spot. I can't even put a guess. Syracuse?
No. That's a good guess considering
right?
that Syracuse is our hometown. No, so I will give you a hint. They are in the same conference.
Yeah, you got me. Now I gotta look at the teams. I don't know. You have to hit me. I pass.
All right.
I fail. I should say I fail.
So it is the Providence Friars, and they're actually the first. Yes, they are already. I didn't want to say they were already mentioned because I felt like that would give it away.
That was too easy, right?
But right, so the Providence Friars are the team. They're the first team out of the tournament currently right now. I think they might be able to squeak in. It's weird that we mentioned it. So I'll pull up Creighton's remaining games right now. And as I pull that up, so they're going to play against St. John's, Seton Hall, Marquette, and Villanova. So very similar schedule to what UConn's about to play. Just swap out Providence for St. John's. But St. John's is part of that next 4 out. They're not part of the first 4 out, but they're part of that next 4 out. Seton Hall's one of those last teams in. And Villanova's also one of those next 4 out like St. John's is. So really, it's going to be quite a cutthroat end of the season for these rest of these teams in the Big East, not just UConn and Creighton, but I think that bodes well for both of them going into March Madness, having to play such cutthroat basketball, and then you're going to end up playing in the Big East tournament, so you're going to end up playing in that, which will also add the intensity, and then finally into March Madness. So Big East teams, I think, are 2 teams to bid on, are total teams to bid on. These 2 specifically, Creighton and UConn. But overall, I think the Big East basketball is going to be high flying in March Madness time.
Right, and one more point I want to make with you. You mentioned the big 3 from a scoring perspective, but here's the big one for me, the kicker. And one of those classic things you say or think of when you think of it, March Madness, who does well? The senior point guard, right? And of course, I'm talking about Stephen Ashworth. He's for the season, he's averaging 11 points per game. He's averaging, I believe it's over 14 over his last little bit here, a couple weeks time, with 7-8 games or something like that. 14, and he went off the other night against UConn. So here you got it. Not only that, he's playing at his best right now. He was getting rebounds. He was getting run over. He did everything in that UConn game. He was fantastic. 88.9% free throw shooting. And on top of that, Shireman's 84, Alexander's 81, and Kalkbrenner at 70. It's not terrible, not great, but 3 of their top 4 players, ball handlers, all shooting over 80% from the line. That goes a long way in tournaments. So, if Creighton can hold up defensively, physically, that's where I see them. I can see them making a long run. It's always about matchups, though, too. You never know who they might run into that counters that and play off of that. So. But I like them.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think that it's going to be important who the matchups are. If they're playing a team that limits a team offensively, I think it might not bode well for Creighton. But if they're playing against a high-flying offense, I think they're going to outscore them. That's gonna do it though for Accurate Sports. For myself, Curtis D. Acker, for Mark Acker, we're going to sign off now. And real quick, before we sign off, I ask you to follow us on X and Instagram at Acker@People. And then lastly, comment down below, how many Big East teams do you think are going to end up making the tournament this season? And then also as well, who do you think that best team is going to be? Let us know in the comments down below. We look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, keep your mind on the court and your eyes on the back of the rim. God bless. Wait, before you go, just wanted to thank you once again for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Curtis Acker. You can follow me on Instagram under at Curtis_D_Acker. Also subscribe to my other YouTube channel, Curtis D. Acker, all together. Once again, wanted to thank you for watching, and God bless you.